Hey there, Evan Siliuson here, founder of the Northwest School of Aromatic Medicine. And this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere with the leaves changing color and, the magical feelings of nature going through this big transformation, there's a lot of inspiration for connecting with nature and the elements and ourselves on deeper levels and with our work with plants in general. And I'm always inspired this time of year to make new aromatic and herbal creations. It's when my inner wizard comes out the strongest. And for me specifically, this is when new incense formulations and blends are born the most. But in one of my recent vlogs, I shared a lot about bioregional aromatic medicine and the importance of going out into your backyard, into the forests and nature around, whatever your environment looks like, to find and connect with the local aromatic plants and to learn how to harvest their medicines and aromatic botanicals in the best way. And there's a lot of magic and wisdom waiting for all of us in our local wildernesses and even right in your own backyard if you learn to listen and really tap into nature and the changes of the seasons, the types of plants and how they live and change throughout the year, watching what they produce, smelling them, and also learning about their natural histories and their traditional uses over time. It's really beneficial to learn as much as you can about the local plants that you work with, because each of us has this treasure chest of gems waiting to be unlocked. Our own wild garden of herbs right outside our door. And truthfully, most people are totally unaware of this, especially most beginners on the plant path or aromatic path. And it's totally understandable. These days we're just so conditioned in this modern world to just, hop online or cruise on down to the herb shop or some other store to buy our botanicals and, all ready to go for us, even powdered down for us most of the time, which is totally fine. But there's something really special about learning how to connect with plants in the flesh as well. Going outside to find and be with them, and harvesting their medicines with your own bare hands, and then taking them back to your home and preparing them into a medicine or an incense or any kind of herbal creation. It's totally okay to buy exotic herbs and spices, but to also get to know your own local flora is going to change your plant practice in really profound ways. You'll learn so much, having real life human to plant connections in your life, and you'll just gain so many good plant allies in the process. And also a lot of really beautiful and likely transformational experiences as well that aren't easy to come by if you strictly buy your herbs or essential oils or other botanicals from other people. There's a lot to say about the practice of putting your own hands into the different processes that come before a finished product is bought. When you get to know your local plants and you sit with them and observe them throughout the year, you can just learn a lot from, how they transform and how they cope with the changing weather outside, the movements of the sun and the moon and the stars and all the elements. And you can actually visually see where they put their energies and how they move them, their life force. And for example, you can notice in the spring, a dead looking, brown bare branch all of a sudden has this burst, this vibrant green shoot trying to turn into a leaf. Or in the summertime, you'll watch a flower bloom and die and then see a fruit appear over time in the same place. So plants have this rhythm with how they move their life force like this according to the seasons. And when you're wildcrafting your botanicals or growing your own in your garden, it's important to know how to read this rhythm. This is called seasonal harvesting, and a lot of people simply aren't aware that certain botanical parts or different substances, like resins or plant gums, are actually going to be more potent during particular times of the year like this. right now, for example, not only are there a lot of local tree resins and gums ready to be harvested around you if you're in the northern hemisphere, but also roots and woods and barks. The fall time is the perfect time for these types of botanicals because the energies within plants and trees are starting to move inward and downward from the branches and leaves. Now that summer's passed and gone, leaves are kind of dying back. These energies are going back into the wood and the flowing resins and eventually down into the roots underground for the winter. So traditionally around the world, fall time is the ideal time to harvest these types of plant parts. It's when the life force, as well as the medicine and the aromatic constituents are all going to be the most potent and the most full. And in the springtime, of course, this is when foliage and leaves of most plants are going to have the highest potency, followed by the summertime for most flowers and blossoms, a lot of foliage as well. But not all plants are going to have the exact same schedule, so you need to be aware of each species and how it moves its life force, and kind of pay attention to when it sprouts new life and flowers. The best way to do this is just observe in nature different plants. But in general, at the peak of flower blossoming, that's going to be the ideal time to harvest them. And for most plants, the late summer to early fall is when seeds and seed pods and fruits of all kinds are going to have the highest potency, usually right before right when they're fully developed and ripe. Again, all plants have their own specific timings, which are based off of the seasonal shifts, of course, but also the moon and stars. And this can also be mapped using astrology, which is a totally separate conversation that you can go into a lot of depth with. It's a really fascinating conversation. Each plant actually can be classified under a sign of the zodiac and a planet or planets as well. And this is actually something that ancient herbalists have been doing for thousands of years. This isn't some new thing. You can find a lot of that kind of information, that astrology, plant information in a lot of classic herbals and materia medicas. But basically, you'll need to get to know a plant on an individual level. Is what it all comes down to. And I suggest going out, at different times throughout the year to observe your local plants and kind of witness, how they change and what they're doing in different seasons. There's plenty of time to do this because you're creating these lifelong relationships with these plants. So year after year, you'll likely be with them and harvest them for, their seasonal medicines or foods. And if you want to really test this out for yourself, you can harvest, go out and harvest some conifer needles at a few different times during the year and see if you notice a difference in their aroma. Or maybe, rub some sage leaves between your fingers and then smell them in the summertime. And then again, do the same thing in the dead of winter, and you're going to notice they're less potent. There's less aromatic constituents, less medicine, less life force in the leaves. You can also notice that hardwoods are slightly denser during the winter months. And flowers are obviously, the most fragrant when they're fully blooming and so on. So if you haven't watched my bioregional aromatic medicine vlog, you should definitely go back and do that because there's a lot of good information about incorporating that practice into your work with plants. You're learning about your local flora. But today, just, looking outside and spending more time out in the meadows behind my home here, I felt like sharing this ancient wisdom with you about being aware of the life force flowing through plants throughout the seasons and learning to correspond your harvesting of leaves, flowers, resins, gums, and woods with those shifts to make your medicines and aromatic or herbal creations much more potent, vibrant, and just more alive with life force, ultimately making them more effective for you and those that you share them with. So go back and watch my bioregional aromatic medicine vlog. You're going to learn a lot from that. And go out and establish some new relationships with your local aromatic plants and notice what they're doing this time of year. So that's it for now. Thanks for joining me today. Stay inspired. and definitely spend more time in nature with the plants around you, and I'll see you next time. Take care and stay safe.